How's it going? Mike here, The Fresh Rinse. This is episode 16 of our 2023 complete pressure washing rig rebuild. I wish I had named it a makeover, like the pressure washing rig makeover. I wish I could go back in time, but hey, nonetheless, I appreciate you watching. Today, we are going to install our metering system for our soft wash setup, and this should be fun, so don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't hit the like button and the subscribe button, would you do that? Leave a comment and hit the bell tab, and you'll never miss another Fresh Rinse video. I really appreciate you joining me today. We've got a lot on our plate for such a small project. I'm going to go ahead and show you the supplies and the tools that we're going to need to plumb up and install our 12-volt system. Now, the pump is already installed. We did that in an earlier video, but today we're going to plumb it up and we're going to set up our metering system. I'll show you the old system and then show you some of the changes that we're going to make. So to begin with, we have two lengths of 1/2-inch hose. This is 1/2-inch ID hose. I picked them up for less than $10 a piece. They're 10 feet long. With that, of course, we've got some hose clamps. I've got a few 1 1/8 inch rubber grommets. Russ at Southside Equipment sent me the cam locks that we're going to need, one set for each side of the pump. And then I have a small piece of aluminum plate, and this is for a special project that we're going to do together. I'll explain as we go. All we really need as far as tools is a cordless drill and a few hole saws. Let me show you the control panel that we're going to be using. We'll be using this as a template or a guide for this year's soft wash system, but I'll be making some alterations and I'll share those with you as we go. We'll be focusing most of our attention on this half of the control panel. Most metering or proportion systems are set up completely different than this. More often than not, you're going to see all the valve work on this side of the control panel, and of course the hoses are exposed and the dials are exposed. But to keep everything nice and clean, I like to have everything on the back side of the control panel where you can't see anything that's going on. The problem is it makes mounting the metering system very difficult. You can see that I resorted to using these aluminum zip ties to hold the metering system to the panel. And quite honestly, it just hasn't worked. It's been a nightmare for the last 2 years. You can see the bolt holes on the back side of all of these valves. By design, this is made to fit on the front side of the panel. But again, I just really don't want to see all of this action going on. And again, that makes it difficult. And that's where this aluminum plate comes into play. If everything works out as I have designed it, we're going to have a bracket that's going to form somewhat of a box around the back side of these valves for the valves to connect to, and it provides some stability and rigidity. But first I need to remove this metering system so that I can use this panel as a template for the holes to cut in our new control panel. Again, using the old panel as a template, I've located the spots where I want to drill my holes. If these are cut accurately, it should fit just like that. Off camera, I have bent my piece of aluminum and drilled holes, and I had to waller them out. Waller is a word that we would use back home in Virginia, where I'm from. And the idea is that this will form a bracket, kind of like a wall, and these holes will line up here, just like this, and be screwed in. Interestingly enough, these two GF valves, the holes are the same. This one is different. And the only thing I can think of is at one point I did replace this GF valve, and at some point they must have changed the hole size, and as it would be my luck, I didn't have the right size screws, so I found some, but I don't have matching screws for all of these. So I will have to go back to the big box store, figure out the different sizes, and get the appropriate screws and washers in stainless, of course. So here's the general idea of what we're looking at. Still not sure that it will work. And in attempt to force this bolt into this hole, I ended up stripping out the little nut portion of the GF valve. So, whatever. Let's see if it works. So here's the idea. I'm going to put screws here and here to secure this to the back side of the control panel. As we look at the back of the panel, we can really see what it is that I was going for. It's extremely, extremely sturdy. I will go back to the big box store, pick up the appropriate hardware. These are not stainless and they're a little bit long. But I'm real happy with what has taken place here, and don't think I'll change a thing. Let's look at the front and then we'll move on to plumbing. So here we'll have water, soap, and then SH. All the dials are turning nicely, and again, it's extremely rigid. I'm happy with it. All right, as we focus on the cam locks, notice that these are in a particular order. I don't know that it really matters, but I am to understand that there is a combination here, and you might want to take a good look at it if you're not familiar with cam locks and how they work. So I called up Russ Johnson at Southside Equipment, talked to him personally, told him my situation. I've got a 12-volt setup that's 1/2 inch, and he knew exactly what to send to me, because there's a variety of different sizes for the different hoses and, of course, the different pumps. He knew exactly what to send me, and at this point, we're ready to connect the male fittings to the pump on either side. Kind of give an idea here of what this looks like. I will go back and tighten these up. The way it works is the cam lock goes on just like that, then tightens down just like that. We'll do this other side, and you can kind of get the idea if you're not familiar with this. If I need to replace the pump, need to work on it, repair it, whatever, just simply pull this, the cam lock comes off. As a side note, this hose reel right here is the new hose reel. It's the new 18-inch electric Titan hose reel that I purchased not too long ago. This particular reel I've had for a few years. I want to say thank you to the viewer who messaged me or commented, I can't remember now who it was, who asked me if I would consider using this one as my hose reel for the soft wash pump in that setup. And he said the reason being is because this will have the tendency to leak, or if it does leak, then what it's going to do is wash down onto this hose reel and have an effect on both. So I can't remember who that was. I want to say thank you very much. I do take your comments seriously, and your suggestions, I take them seriously. So thank you very much. At this point, I will connect this end of the hose, which by the way goes to that swivel there. I will connect it to this end of the pump and the hose barb, and then this will be ready to go. All right, so something fairly important grabbed my attention, and I had to take a break from the rig. It is now the next morning. In the meantime, I've stopped at the hardware store, picked up the hardware that I needed. All of this is stainless. Of course, I'm still in mourning over this particular valve. It would have looked so much better. I hope my customers never see this. I may never get another job. I also got the hardware for this side as well, and personally, I think it came out great. Of course, I have the 1/2" main line running to the pump. And now I need to connect my 1/4 inch line to my soap bucket. 1/2 inch goes to my buffer tank, which will supply water to the metering system. Then this is a 1/2 inch line, which will run across the buffer tank and into the SH tank. Okay, so the plumbing to the 12-volt pump is now complete. Let's kind of recap here and just show you where all of these lines go. So this line here, which will be on the right side of the control panel, runs from this valve all the way across the buffer tank and will eventually go into the SH tank. This line and valve runs immediately across the buffer tank, and this will supply water to the 12-volt pump. And this 1/4 inch line will supply soap to the buffer tank. And notice how I have it running down and then to this 5-gallon bucket. If you're wondering why I have a second hole in the designated soap tank, it's because in the past I have ran a line, just as I have here, to the 12-volt pump, and I had a secondary line running to a dual barbed injector which supplied soap to my metering setup for my downstream injector. You can go back in my channel a long ways back and you can see how I had that set up. Now, as a pro tip, because I had this second hole here that I'll not be using, I simply put a rubber grommet here, and that will prevent debris and moisture from entering into the tank. And this 5-gallon soap tank slips very comfortably underneath the rack. Now I want to show you one more pro tip, and this was a hard lesson learned by one of our viewers who made a comment recently. He said he too enjoys using the ratchet straps to hold down his buffer tank, but the mistake that he made was he drilled his holes before securing the tank, and he drilled his holes right here. And that was a costly mistake. He had to move over and then cover that hole. So keep that in mind. I have the 1/2 inch hose connected to the swivel, of course, on the electric hose reel, and I'll be running 200 feet of 1/2 inch Curatech hose for my soft wash setup. And in case anyone is wondering, I do have metering valve decals on order and in fact en route. They will go around all 3 metering valves, allowing me to know exactly what my settings are. I'll show that in a future video after I get the decals applied. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope that you've enjoyed watching me plumb the 12-volt soft wash system as much as I've enjoyed doing it. Be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Leave a comment, hit the bell tab. You'll never miss another video. All right, that's it. My name's Mike. They call me the Fresh Rinse, and I'm out.